Hello, everybody. Let's get in focus first. Okay, there we are. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Adventure Bound. My name is Wade Acuff, and today we're gonna really try to keep everything in perspective. What I mean by that is we're gonna be using Fresco and its perspective tools to, show some things about drawing in perspective. Now, I don't want you to think that means Wade's going to teach us how to draw in perspective. Some of that will be happening, yes. But also, I think what I want to get across is I want to give you the tools and the methods that I use for kind of grounding all my sketches when I'm working on structures and using perspectives to draw those structures. I want that grounding to be legit and real and solid. So that's kind of the idea for that, and I'll show you what I mean by that with some examples in a moment. But first, I want to say real quick, shout out to Jesus. The great little spotlight that just happened. You can check out that video and all of these, including Adventure Bound, over on our YouTube channel. I believe it's youtube.com/@Adobe Live Community. So check that out. Let's see who we got in chat. We got, I'm just going to start from the beginning. Marcia, Clever, Oliver, let's see, Apurva, CJ. What's up, CJ? Shout out to the mods. We got Jack as well. Hey, if you see a mod on the street, and when I say street, I mean in the chat, say hi. Just say hello. They're amazing people. All right, so getting to it here. Let me jump over into Photoshop so I can show you some of the examples of what we're gonna do today. Oh, real quick. So I do need chat's help as well. So chat, and I'm looking at Behance, I'm looking at YouTube. Give me some ideas, and I'm not guaranteeing we'll use them, but give me some ideas for types of structures, like, I don't know, a witch's hut, or a shack, an apocalyptic, whatever. I don't know. Think of some ideas. You don't have to shout them in the chat just yet. Just hang on to them. I will ask for them later. But first, let's look some examples at what I'm talking about as far as drawing and getting our sketches grounded in perspective. All right, let's go. Okay, so we're in Photoshop. I'm going to turn this off for now so you can see all of Photoshop. So this is just a little cottage made in Fresco. All of these were made in Fresco. I haven't touched them in Photoshop. They're very rough, as you can tell. Even some of the perspective is off in this one, but it's just a sketch. It's real quick. I don't know how many of these we'll run through today, but I want this to be about creating these things, not about like getting the perfect, perspective drawing. All right, so got another little cottage, just some different, thatched roof, some different ideas going on here. These are a little bit cleaner. This is some kind of like state home or something. I don't know. There's maybe some shadows going on here, but just a bunch of, all of these are all from the same building blocks in Fresco. So same thing here. This is like my little post-apocalyptic shack. Lots of fun, and you can tell there's not a lot of very well kept lines here, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. I prefer the messiness in my sketches. I'm not going for anything clean. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just trying to get the ideas across. So let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, so and even this one where like all these boards get kind of haphazard and all that stuff, it's still grounded in perspective. And just to kind of show you what we've got going on here, if I can make it work. Well, I'll show you in Fresco. How about that? But first, I want to show you a little bit of time lapse for these, and I'll talk through them as well. I know this is a lot of like, hey, look at this, but it kind of makes sense from a here's what I do first situation. So you can see, I'm just going to pause this, and we'll talk about these tools in a minute, but I've grounded this first sketch in with the perspective that I'm going for, and then I work around that. So I'm just kind of building this out. This one winds up being a little bit of a, don't come at me McDonald's, but I feel like this headed down that medieval McDonald's type of look. We'll call it McDowell's. How about that? Ye old McDowell's. If you know, you know. So that's kind of where this one went. But it's all grounded in that 2D perspective. And we'll talk about the different 1, 2, and 3-point perspectives. Let's move on to the other one. So this one I think is the thumbnail. Yes. This is the thumbnail for what I use for today's stream. And you can see I even have like a chimney that is going on here. I decided I didn't like that. So I moved that to the back. Get rid of it. I'm just adding details. And all of them are based off of the same simple perspective. Okay, enough talk. Let me see if I can switch us over here. I am not using my Wacom tablet today because I will be using Fresco on the iPad. And bear with me because my head will be down because I'm now looking at my desk. So you'll see a lot of this action. Let's jump back over. There we go. All right. And that you're not seeing. Oh, I still have this open. There we go. Let's bump this in. There it is. Okay. So now, yeah. Okay. Now we're in Fresco. Okay. Oh, let's see. Do I have this on? I do not. So I am going to turn on touch type. Sorry, not touch type. It is called show touches. There we go. So if you turn this on, and I'm just doing this so you can see what we're going to be doing. You can see the little blue bip. You know, as I'm drawing, you'll see it. I will probably turn this off later on as I get going because I don't want to see the little blue. It's a little distracting for me to see that as I'm working. All right, so if you can see everything, let me check out chat. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Are we only working with 2 point? I'm going to show you 1, 2, and 3, and I'll tell you why I'm using 2 because we focus on 2-point perspective. But let's just jump into it. Over here on the side, you'll see our layers. We'll see our layer properties, and then you'll see grids. And we're focusing on grids, skipping past the snapping. But if you turn grids on, and I'll go ahead and switch this to 1, you get the different types of grid. We do actually have a graph. We're not using that, but just to show you that it's there. We have perspective, 1 point, and when you toggle this, you get 1, 2, and 3. And you can edit the vanishing points by hitting edit vanish points, and you can move this around. Done. Drawing allows you to draw on the line. Well, if you go the right direction, there you go. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then you have density of your guide, which, you know, adds more lines for you. I tend to work a little loose. I don't have as many lines guiding me. And then you can turn the opacity up and down, and you can change the color of the grid if you'd like. Okay, none of that stuff's all that important for what we're doing, just beyond showing you that it's there. All right, so 1-point perspective, what that's going to let you do is, and I just have a simple chalk brush. It's the same chalk brush I use in Photoshop. But what that's going to let you do is draw in 3 planes. Essentially, you can draw squares. And then if you follow the perspective, if you take your line and follow in perspective, you can see it's going to go all the way back to that vanishing point. No matter where you draw. Oops. Oh, we have a cat here. We have Meeps has joined us for today's session. But it will let you draw. Oops. And it gets tricky on these edges because it's trying to point towards the middle. But you kind of have to really significantly draw horizontal or vertical if you want those to show up. But I'm going to show you a little bit about how the guides work on this. Hello. Okay, she's going to take a seat over there. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to draw just a line that comes back here. And you see this purple vertical and horizontal line that's kind of following along as I'm drawing. That's going to let you decide where in space, if you're trying to draw parallel lines in perspective, You can see me getting closer to about right there. So when it lines up with that one, you now can draw across, which I kind of tried to do there. Oh, now I'm erasing, that's why. Okay. But you can use those guides to help you. And the same thing, if I start from this corner, you'll see that purple horizontal line start to line up with the back of this box. And bam, there we go. So that's a way to kind of keep your lines clean. Yes, Meeps is always my muse, but she has decided to take a seat right beside me, which is fine. Keeps her occupied. Okay, so that's 1 point. You're basically everything vanishes towards 1 point. Let's clear this layer. Go over to 2 point. Now, this gets a little bit trickier, and I'm going to do us a favor. I'm going to go to Edit Vanishing Points, and you can see I've got this zoomed out as far as this is a large file. This is 18 by 24 inches. Don't ask me. That's just my favorite size to work in. You can work in whatever size you want. But this is as far as I can bring these vanishing points out. I'm going to bring them in, and you just grab them to move them around. They can even be like at a Dutch angle, where your horizon line, which is this line going across, it's where every point, every line will go to these points as the horizon line, what it considers an horizon line, but it will snap. So you can allow it to snap, hit done, zoom back in here, draw on this. And again, I'm just going to make a couple of lines here, and you can see that our purple lines are now giving us the perspective. Like in the 1 point, there was just the horizontal, vertical, and horizontal lines. Now it's actually on the perspective point. It's going off into the horizon just like your lines will be. Now you can draw vertical, and you can draw, you can draw vertical lines with this, but you can no longer do horizontal. It's not letting you draw that way in this. Now you can turn off drawing and do whatever you want. And we'll be doing that a lot, because that's mainly how we're going to sketch. I'm just showing you the tools right now. So let's draw a little box here, and let's say that's the edge of it, or where it stops. And again, you see this little purple line that's kind of reaching the top of the other line we made. That's how you know that you are in on the same parallel as the other line. We'll draw the back of this box. And again, I went too far. You can see I went too far there. Should have been right there. We're not going to be this neat. When we get going, we get cranking, we're not going to be this specific at all. Just FYI. So we have our horizon here, which I can't really draw on. That's about the only horizontal line you can draw on is the horizon. But we'll talk about this a little bit. But if, let's say, this is one of our buildings and you want to add scale, sometimes you might want to add just a little vertical line to give an indicator of what height a person will be. And I mentioned this earlier on one of the examples. I think it was the first example. I like to choose the horizon line of the buildings to be on the eye level plane. So a person would have to be this tall. Here, I'm going to turn drawing off so that I can draw a little person here. This is the eye line for that person. So that's where things will start to once it gets above the horizon line, it will start going to this perspective, and when it's below the horizon line, it'll go to this perspective, if that makes sense. I'll turn drawing back on and show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to draw a box up here. If it will allow me to go, there we go. Something like that. Having a hard time seeing it. Too far. That's okay. But you can see the bottom of this box based on the eye line. And if I do turn this back on, let's just draw one floating in here. Same situation. Oops. You can see the top of the box because that horizon line or that eye line is where you're going to be able to see things vanishing back from below or from above, if that makes sense. I might have missed it, but what are the practical uses of 1 point, like being sucked into? Yeah, it's really kind of like, if we go back to 1 point, clear this. You'll see a lot of things like streets. Oops. And buildings and things. Like you could, use it to do this kind of thing. It's not the best example. But if that makes sense, you start to get, I don't specifically would use this for that, but there are, it's kind of a, not isomorphic, but kind of gives you that effect in some ways. But that's the best example I can give you. 1 point perspective. It's actually pretty good building block for simple things. If you don't want to involve yet another horizon, another point that you're trying to meet, which is why when I go to, I don't know if that helps at all, but that's the best I can give you at the moment. But let's go to 3 point and we'll really talk about it. Clear. All right. I don't like these being, let me edit these vanishing points. And again, we can grab this whole thing by just grabbing it anywhere, but if you want to edit the points, you have to grab the points themselves. Actually going to just grab this one and move it up. And grab the whole thing. Yes, exactly, Marcia. We're kind of giving ourselves bounding boxes. That's kind of the idea I'm going with on this. Let me check. Well, it's got some. So we got, hey, what's up, Jerry's? How's it going? How's it going, Allison? Looking over on the YouTube chat. I do see you guys. Are we only working with 2 point? No, we're jumping into 3 point as well. And then we'll actually do some of the work. I'm trying to just lay the bare bones out here. All right, so we've got our 3 point perspective. And I guess the best, since we were talking about examples, we'll go ahead and this might be the best way to draw buildings technically, because you're getting all of the perspectives in your, to get all the vanishing points you might need. Let's say we're going to draw a skyscraper. Now this is very extreme because of how I pushed these vanishing points into the canvas. I am attempting to draw. There we go. So, you can draw in this. There we go. So you could draw a little city block or whatever you wanted to do. And as these get more extreme towards the end, it's going to look a little bit more and more wilder, as it would go. But that's an idea of how to kind of get, that kind of deep perspective. Now, if you wanted that perspective lessened, you would go back to editing your vanishing points and move them way out to the edges, which is what we're going to do with our 2 point perspective. I'm just going to show you real quick how that changes everything. It's a little off center. Not sure why it won't. There we go. All right. Let's clear this. And you can see that it's not as dramatic anymore. It is a little tricky sometimes to pull these lines out. But there you go. A little different, less dramatic. But let's switch back to our 2 point and start talking about how we're going to lay these buildings out or whatever that we're about to do. And we're about 20 minutes in, and we haven't really started any sketches, so we'll try to get through some of these, relatively quickly. I'm not really trying to rush this. We will not have any finished product at the end. It will all be a sketch, but the idea is to help you lay this out for yourselves so that you can kind of figure it out as well. I like to pull these out quite a bit. And it really just depends on how you want to work on this. Everything is up to you. And the reason I pull those out is so that our perspective isn't so dramatic that it looks skewed. That's the idea anyway. And that's again why I say I like to work in 2-point, because I can draw my vertical lines and still get, you know, a building shape like this. So let's start talking about laying this stuff out. So I've got a basic block here, and I'm going to try to get a little closer on this so I'm not so far zoomed out. Yeah, exactly. It's a kind of a wide angle lens when you're doing that dramatic 3-point perspective. But let's say we want to put a roof on this. So I'm just going to, I could just start like guesstimating where a roof would be. You know, let's be a little cleaner than that, right? So let's start breaking this up. I'm going to turn drawing back on. I'm going to extend these lines up, put a top on this. Extend this line up, put a top on this. Well, I want to go about halfway between these, between this block, because that will give us the peak of the roof. And if you want to add doors or anything like that, I would recommend always kind of having these, you know, like putting the marker at, you know, the halfway point. So that's the half of this block. But this is our peak. So we can just come down here, come down there, turn our perspective back on, draw the top of our roof, and turn that back off. And then get another roof edge there. Now, if you're screaming at me, well, those lines aren't straight, those lines aren't perfect. I don't want to be perfect on the sketches. I don't want, if I wanted to be, you can do it. And I will go ahead and just make a new layer. And I will turn down the opacity of this underdrawing real quick. And then on this, you could come back to your grid, make sure your drawing is turned on, redraw your lines, make sure they're super tight. I'm not going to do all that. But if I wanted these roof lines to be cleaner, I can use the snapping that's built in with Fresco. Draw a line, stop, wait for it to snap, bam. Draw a line, wait for it to snap, bring it into place. Boom. Same thing all the way across. Now you could even go so far as to be like, well, is that lined up? Well, it's pretty close. Cool. So that's how you can get kind of clean lines on all of that. I tell you, I don't want the clean lines, because here's what I like to do. I'm going to back this up. I like to give a little bit of flavor with these. So there might be a little bit of an arc sometimes. You saw with some of the other ones, there was some thatch, you know, roof action. For the sketch part of this, don't care. I don't necessarily want the clean lines. I'm not an architect. This is not an elevation drawing. I'm not trying to make this perfect and hand off to somebody to build something. Just trying to give you the building blocks, the basics of how to do this. Okay, so unless anybody has any questions about that part of it, we've got about another 24-ish minutes to get something done. Chat, now I asked you earlier if you had any ideas for structures or buildings. I have a backup plan if you guys aren't ready. But do you have any ideas for what kind of structure we might want to build today? Because I'm going to go through how I like add windows and, you know, whatever things you guys want to see at this point. So you let me know in chat. I'm going to check out both chats here. We do have Behance. We have Behance over here, and we have YouTube over here. Make a troll bridge ticket booth. Perfect. We'll do that. We'll start with that. Keep your other ideas in mind, because we might come back to one of these. All right, so let's just clear it. Let's just clear. I'll hide that one. How might I approach a troll bridge ticket booth? Okay, let's see. Maybe we'll do the method where I'm not laying out the tool. You know what? Let's not get too crazy. Let's go ahead and just draw a box first. And again, okay, so here's a good point I need to mention. This is our eye line right here. So this is how we're going to see everything that's come across. Everything above this is taller than the person, and all of this is below and ground. So keep that in mind. All right, let's see, draw this back into space, probably a little bit smaller. I'm going to call this the front. Call this the front. Maybe we have a little jutting out, something there. And I'm going to turn drawing off. I'm just going to hop back and forth because I'm not too fussed about any of this. Maybe I will, before we go, add where the roof of this might be. Right now I'm doing that halving stage where I'm halving where we're what we're seeing here. Okay, so that's where that building meets. So I'm going to turn drawing back off, and I'm going to go from the peak of this, turn that back on to get our rooftop. Turn it back off. Okay, so maybe this is how our troll, I keep wanting to say troll bridge. I'm going to call it the ticket booth. How about that? A spaceship, possible. Keep it in. We'll work on this as quickly as possible. All right. So what I like to do, this is just things that I've noticed, and you've probably seen it. I like to add these little arches in here. This is just something I have fun with lately. That might change at a later date. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this down. Might pretend like there are posts on the edge of this. A ticket booth would probably have to have a window. So let's lay this out even further. I'm going to say this is our troll bridge, starting right here. Turn drawing off, and let's say this is where the bridge starts. So we get planks and stuff coming in there. Okay. So as we walk up, there's going to be a window. I want a big, nice, wide window here. And you do see how it keeps trying to drag me on the wrong perspective. You do sometimes have to be very conscious of your stroke so that you can make sure that it pulls in the right direction. Like that bottom needs to go up now. So I'm just going to start adding these posts in here. All right, I think that works. Turning the drawing back off because I want these things to stick out here. I just don't know what it is, but I like these protruding posts that come out. They don't have to be super dramatic, just enough. All right, I'm gonna turn drawing back on, and you can see how this is a lot of flipping between the drawing and turning it on and off just for the sketch part. I'm fine with that. I have no issues there. I'm gonna add these posts up here. I want there to be a big window for like a lookout over the bridge right there. Maybe the door to get into this place is right here. It probably should be only about this tall, because remember our eye line, I probably need to bring all of this down. Let's see, grab this, because I forgot our eye line. You know what, we could make the person taller. That is an option, but while we're here, let's just bring this down. See how that's not gonna work, because now going against the perspective you laid out. And the reason I wanted to show this is to make sure that you know if you move anything in this situation, you will be redrawing it. You don't get to start again. That's why I emphasize making the sketch of this more than I do laying out and being perfect with the lines. Because if you get the basics of it, you can sketch all around it and change things as you want to, as you see fit. What I would do here is, yes, you could erase this out. And let's draw it just a little bit lower. I'll turn drawing back on just for a moment. There we go. Let's put a big window. Maybe trolls actually use the bridge. How about that? Okay, so better, right? Well, back to that if you move it, you lose it type of thing. It's not super dramatic if that happens, because let's say I wanted to scale this whole thing down. Let's grab it, scale it down. Again, you've destroyed your perspective. Well, what would you be able to do with that? Well, you can't really, let's see, deselect. You can't really continue because now everything is off. Everything is just slightly off. It doesn't look so bad here because, again, we pulled everything out to the edges. But you could realign your vanishing points, which is a little bit of a nightmare. There are options down here at the bottom where you can use a layer to help you create the perspective based on your image. I have tried it. It doesn't work so much for these drawings. If you use a document or an actual image, it does work a little better, or have found it works a little better. But for me, the best thing has just been readjusting the vanishing points. All right, I'm going to back up so that we don't have to do any of that, since we've kind of sort of fixed it. Jared says they were thinking of a flying airship hotel. I like it. We are going to do that, but let's do this one real quick. Let's keep working here. Deselect, zoom back in here. All right, super sketch mode. Make sure we're on the right layer. Drawing needs to be turned off. All right, I'm going to start making these windows. So thinking about windows and that sort of thing. I want there to be more arches. And again, this middle line has helped me decide, because I halved the box, it kind of helps me decide where the arc of this door would be. And I do want these framed out. I'm going to sketch this out. So I have like a little plank that goes around. And we have our door here, but there's some thickness on the door. So you could draw the interior of that for the thickness. Draw the interior of that window for its thickness. Thickness on here. And I'm not using perspective for this. I've already laid out the perspective for it. You could go in here with very clean lines if you wanted to. And sometimes I will do a snap line to kind of redraw something. But it's not a super necessity to do that. And I will say, let's say, say there's this arch right here that I want to blend in. You can draw arches and Fresco will complete them for you, and you can place them where you would like. So you do get some of that clean benefit. So like if I think that looks good, and I think that's a little thick, little thick for our purposes. Let me get rid of that. You would see the under part of this a little bit. So I think I drew that a little too tight. But I think you get the idea. Straight line there. Straight line here. And you do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's sketch this out. I do think that is quite a bit of thickness on that. But I do want it to show that there is a beam there. This does sit on top of this. Let's give this a little arch in the roof. I'm gonna give us a little peak up top. Let's say this is a tiled roof, so I'm just kind of detailing the edge of this, but not really. It's just really quick sketches, and then a bunch of little squiggles to indicate, maybe we do another group up here because the eave, or the top of the roof, is also tiled. I'm going really quick here, but then you can just kind of connect these as you see fit, and it gets the idea across that, oh, there's something more happening with this roof than just a flat roof. Again, arch window. Let's see if we can roll through this. Put a little bit of thickness on that. And I'm just using the idea of the perspective to give me that thickness. There's maybe a frame in here. I don't know. Something like that. See the roof framing. The beam there. You know what? I have to add a beam up here. I have to do it. It's just part of the way that I like doing these. So I'm going to add another beam up top. Have one sticking out the back as well. Why not? Some detailing here. Probably have another little beam in there to support that cutout. It's a little bit not finished. Maybe you could add, let's see, you could maybe add a little, looking at the time, because I do want to get onto another one here. Maybe we'll add a little bit of something right here. Another window of sorts. Turn the drawing back off. Touch to erase. You can also double tap your pen if you have a pen, and it will change. Maybe we add a couple of these little things. Do want to turn this back on. I want to add like a, not a baseboard, but like a bottom area. And you can see this starting to shape up. I'm kind of digging it. This is what I did with some of the other windows, I believe. I just kind of scribbled in the dark areas to indicate that there's a plane. Maybe we come on down. I don't know. I don't know, something like that. The Airship Hotel, yes, we're gonna get onto it. Okay, so this is our little troll bridge, and let's work on the other one. Let's go into the airship. I mean, this is by no means finished, right? What you could do before we move away from this, I will add a new layer. What you could do is grab your brush setting, make it a little bit larger, and I think I have, yeah, just add some shading in here. Let's say the front is hit with light. Let's say our light is coming from over here, so you could just really quickly block out that this is in shadow. Nothing crazy, and then you just hit all the sides that you think are in shadow. Really does help. Deeper shadows, and this is all on a separate layer, so you don't have to worry about it. And then you could do a little bit of a cast. Something quick, something easy. Let's do this airship, shall we? Let's hide this. Okay. And I love the idea of the airship, and I'll tell you why. Because we were talking about your eye line where you can see things from underneath. We're going to see this from underneath. I have no idea where we're going with this, but let's see what happens, shall we? I'm going to make our size a little bit smaller. Let's see, turn our drawing on. Now, hotel might be a bit of a stretch. We'll try to make it work. Kind of got a goof there. It's gonna be a very blocky, boxy hotel. Or maybe not. Maybe we can add some. Here, let's see what we can do. Have these. Think smaller scale. Let's say let's have our little person there. So you get an idea of what we're dealing with here. I'm going to go ahead and make some more lines in here so I can determine where I want these to be. So we're going sci-fi. This is a bit interesting because I've done a lot of sci-fi structures. Maybe just the fact that it's floating is enough. I don't know. We'll go with a... Here, we'll go with a roof. We'll see how this roof works. I'm gonna be hopping in and out of this. Oh, I forgot to turn my touches off. I was wondering why like things felt just off. Go down here, turn the touches off. All right, now you won't see the little blue mark. More importantly, I won't see the little blue mark. So let's say these are going to be our windows. Maybe we want like something. How would that work? Still a hotel. Still might have a grand entrance of sorts. So let's give it a little something there. I'm going to say this is our door height. It's a very small hotel. Let's see. All right. Checking on chat real quick. Round windows. Are we talking? To be honest. Oh, large wooden. Okay. Okay, I'm cool with that too. It's not a far stretch. Let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna turn drawing off in that case. Give us our arches back. Our little bitty fun arches. And I like the two-way arch of this. So how is it floating? Oh man, I can't do it now, but I could have done, like you said, Airship, I guess. It could have been, well, I guess it will be part sci-fi. Part not sci-fi? Let's see. Let's go ahead and add a little balcony area. Something sticking out here. A little bit longer. Then it has to have its own roof system, which I like. I'm gonna give us that right there. Doesn't quite work because it would tie into the other roof. Mangled mess is what we have. It's okay, we'll get there. Didn't quite center this one up. Doesn't have to be, really. Let's draw in tiny windows. Now I'm thinking like, let's lose part of this structure. And I'm just kind of scratching it in here. And we've got a railing maybe coming in here. And let's see. Let's get these windows in here as fast as we can. We've got about about 10 minutes left. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know. I really just do like to think in 3D as we're working on these. I'm not like trying to super sell that this is, you know, completely believable at the moment, obviously. Should there be, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put shrubberies on the edges here. On this bottom platform. And just bear with me here. That's our perspective, playing in with a cylinder going on there. Get our little awning going for the entrance. I want another row of windows, please, which I could turn the drawing on for that, just to line them up. But this is how all of those other drawings started. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Just start getting in there and doodling the work. I don't want all that yet. I do have a propensity to start with the details a little too early. There we go. Let's put little points up here. I'm going to start scratching out these eave supports so that we can see them. It might help to add to the structure of the roof. A few more windows. Doodling in the work. Air plants, yes, back to the plants. You can see how I didn't put this centered, and it's not really causing a problem, it's just a little off. Let's see. I don't know why I want this bigger window here, bigger window on this side. All right, back to this cylinder. I keep accidentally hitting. You can probably tell what's going to happen here. Maybe we've got tiny little jets on all the four corners as well. Well, I have to do bushes in the front too. I can't leave that off. I love the idea of like on the back side there's possibly even like a tree or two. Why? How? Why? Don't know. Don't care. But it's happening. I think inventing little stories, making up things for why this stuff works for you is good enough. Good enough. I think that drawing is off perspective-wise, so I'm just going to take this line, make sure that we're still in line. You know what, maybe we add that as a feature. All right, there we go. Erase back out some of this. Give our doors an arch. Fancy double doors. Birds, you gotta have birds. Yes, here's a bird. There's a bird. There's a bird. Definitely want to have a tree poking out over here as well. And let's make sure that we can see our canopy a little bit better. That it is in fact a little structure here. Trying to keep an eye on the time. I know we're running close. I'm okay. I'm okay with it. And I'm just turning on drawing and turning drawing off and on as I need it. It's not really something I think about at this point. It's just like, oh, does I need to straighten this line out? Sure, turn it on. Do I need freehand draw? Sure, turn it off. Any last minute questions after kind of rolling up into the end of this? How's Posh Moving Castle? Yes. I mean, you gotta have like, here, let me turn drawing back off. I feel like you gotta have like maybe some little flags going on there. Let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to have these little swooshies coming down from the underneath area. We don't want to blow our little guy away. We gotta keep him happy and alive down there at the bottom. This would be a fun place to add like little mechanical things if you could. And now I'm just detailing as I feel like I need it. I'm not really, you know, none of this really matters as far as like the structure of it. But it's all based off that simple, super simple perspective drawing that we did right at the beginning. Maybe there's like a little transom up here. That's how you know. That's how you know it's posh, as someone said in chat. Got to get this other window. Now there would probably be like, you know, a little window ornamentation around all this. Let's darken these out so they look like windows. And then real quick, just to kind of add to this, I'm going to drop in some shadows with a layer on top. And just going to make the size of my brush a little bit bigger. I'm going to start just letting this do the work. Probably a little bit of shadow under the little eaves here. And we can do this whole side actually. I'm just gonna make this really large. And just give it a nice shadowing. Which means our trees back here will probably be in shadow. You can now make it darker where you think it would be a little bit darker. I'm not trying to go crazy with it. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of emphasis on those areas. Probably under here, around the door, the back side of this awning. You know, something like that. But I hope this helps you kind of open up how you think about working in perspective. Super easy tools. If you want to catch that, it was at the beginning of this. If you're coming in late, All I did was lay this out really quickly. The same thing we did with this troll booth. There we go. Super simple. Just laid out your perspective first. You don't have to do it that way. If you're already good with perspective and you want to get real sketchy, then ground it with the perspective. That's completely fine. Really figure out how you like to work, and if you like to add things like the little quirky, like where I've gotten into the habit of adding, let's see, these little, I don't know what you call them, little jutting out points. Find those little things that make you happy in your drawings and keep doing them, because you're just going to keep having fun with it. You're going to keep growing with it. But that is going to do it for me, everybody. Let's hop out of here. We could have added a satellite on this. You could have made this anything, like really. But yeah, that is going to do it for me. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you want to catch any of our live streams, they're all over on our YouTube channel. You can check it out at any point. They're all saved. And thanks everybody, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.